Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing another pen from Hongdian. It's not a particularly new model, but it is this. This is the Hongdian 100. This is made of an aluminium that is stamped with a very intricate design. It was designed to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, and because of that, it has the red star up here on the top of the pen that you can see. So if you are not interested in this style of pen or what this pen represents, this may not be the pen for you, but this was sent to me by Easy Buy on Etsy to show you, and I think it's a really interesting pen, and I have to say it's a really wonderful pen to use in the hand, on the page, all of that kind of stuff. Let's talk about the parts and features. As I said, top of the pen has that Chinese red star and in a gold sort of medallion underneath a little clear plastic dome. The cap then swells and the clip is cut in, and it's a sort of a brushed aluminium style clip. It's got these sort of ridges on it. It looks a bit like a sword in some ways. It's fairly stiff, but I haven't had any problems using it. The cap then continues along, and there's a sort of a more shiny sort of ring on the end of it. It'll step down onto the barrel, which gently tapers to the piston knob. It is a piston filling pen, which has these knurled rings alternating with a more sort of shiny aluminium, and then a plain end cap there. This pen is roughly, modeled off the N7 model from Hongdian. I have a review of that pen on this channel. I'll link to that in the video description. I'll come back to all the intricate stamped work on here, but it is a twist cap and it comes off in about 1 1/4 turns. Little step down onto some low profile threads that are quite smooth, like they don't catch at all, they're not sharp, and then a simple metal section that tapers, and then we get a Hongdian number 6 size nib with the Palace sort of stamped in it there. This is it's got a plastic feed, and this one has the long knife or blade nib on it, which I'll show in the writing sample, but it's a really lovely nib to write with. As I said, it is a piston filler, so you dunk the pen into the bottle of ink just beyond the nib there. You turn the knob on the end here and a piston runs up and down in the pen and draws ink up. Once again, lots of videos about how to fill a piston filler here on my channel. Now you might see these little rectangles here. They are the ink window. So an earlier model I saw of this online had a plain band ink window. I really like this window one. It's reminiscent of ink windows on, say, Mont Blanc pens, but I think it's a really nice touch. Definitely good enough to be able to see the ink level, when you hold it up to a window or something like that. It's a very interesting pen. Lots going on, as I said, but wonderful pen in the hand. Let's talk a little bit about some of the stamped work here. Now, you can see it is highly intricate. There is a lot going on. We've got a range of sort of Chinese characters on the band here. It says what I'm assuming is the Chinese for Hongdian and then 100. There's also a range of other sort of Chinese symbols on the pen, as well as things like a palace, bits of a wall design, which is in mountain steps, reminiscent of the Great Wall, as well as a lot of sort of filigree and other sort of very Chinese design stamping. It's a pen that is designed to commemorate something. It does that. Between the star on the top and a lot of the intricate stamp work, there is also a gold-colored version of this, which has a red inlay, which is even more sort of traditionally Chinese in a lot of ways with the color scheme. This one is a little, believe it or not, this is the subtle version, but I love it. I think it's a really great pen to write with. To do the quick size comparison today, I don't have my Lamy Safari on hand, but I have a Diplomat Viper, which, another metal pen. You can see the Viper is ever so slightly longer there than the Hongdian 100. Uncapped, obviously, the Viper has its hooded nib. The Hongdian has a number 6 size stainless steel nib, but the Viper just comes ever so slightly longer in the uncapped format. The Hongdian 100 posts rather nicely, comes in longer there than the Viper in that format. So what are the specific dimensions of the Hongdian 100? Well, it is 136 millimeters when it is capped. It's 122 when it's uncapped, so it's a fairly sort of good length in the hand. It's definitely got a nice girth and weight to it as well. It does post, but it does post onto the piston knob. So if you wanted to post this, or if you need to post your pens or want to post your pens, it does post, just be a little bit careful. For me, it does back weight the pen ever so slightly. A lot of the weight of that cap is up in the end there. So it does feel much more substantial, but a little off balance in my opinion. Around the section is about 11.5 millimeters, and at the widest point it's around 15 millimeters. So it's got a nice sort of girth as well. The entire pen weighs 49 grams. 31 of that in the body and 18 in the cap. So you are putting the weight of some sort of like lighter weight pens entirely on the back here. And yeah, so for me that does just back weight it ever so slightly. You definitely feel the weight of the pen more back here than in the fingers. I quite like the unposted balance of this pen. I think it's a wonderful pen in the hand. It feels amazing, nice weight, and definitely a nice sort of robust, sturdy feel. Okay, for today's writing sample, I have Life stationery paper. It's one of my favorite papers to write on. And what we have here is the Hongdian 100. I have this with the number 6 steel long knife nib, which is often called a blade nib. The ink in this is Alamy ink, and it is the dark lilac, and this is the 2024 edition of that ink. Beautiful purple, and as you can see already, a ton of sheen as that ink dries. Okay, let's do the writing sample, and we have this pen writes exceptionally smoothly. Now, the long knife nib, this pen does come with a range of different nib sizes. The long knife nib, if I just sort of draw a side profile of a nib here, the tipping kind of looks like it's got a rounded there, but it is sort of quite narrow looking down on it. So what that means is we get sort of thinner downstrokes and wider crossstrokes, much like an architect. But unlike an architect, which, like the grind sort of ends up looking a bit flatter like that, because we have that curved version here, what that means is if you write on a higher angle, you still get the narrow downstrokes. It's even finer, as you can see, but even the crossstrokes aren't quite as wide here as the standard, sort of flat writing profile, if you will. It makes for a really interesting nib. Reverse writing is quite scratchy, but it's definitely doable. Flex, not this sort of nib grind. For that, you can squeeze a little bit more out, but really you're just putting a heck of a lot more ink down on the page. And that's something you don't need to do with this nib. It is quite a wet writer. Fast writing, you can see that keeps up really, really nicely. So what I love about this nib is the fact that it's an incredibly smooth writer. It gives a bit of flavor to my writing. As I said, it's smooth, it's reliable, it does everything it's designed to do, but it gives a little bit of variation and gives you a chance to just sort of have a few line widths on hand. Just quickly stop to show the sheen here. I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick that up, but like This ink sheens very green, like unlike the original dark lilac that sheened gold, the 2024 one sheens very green, and we're getting some really strong, vibrant hits of it from this relatively wet pen on this beautiful, smooth, life stationery paper. So, what does the Hongdian 100 cost? Well, one of the beautiful things about this pen is just how affordable it is. Now, I have seen it for more expensive than this, depending on the retailer you go to, but on a couple of online sites, I was able to see it ranging anywhere from the very, very low end of 37 up to about 50 Australian dollars. So, a really reasonably priced pen for an intricate metal pen with a piston filling system, a nice nib with a sort of relatively unique grind on it. I think this is pretty good value, especially for the quality of the writing experience you get from this pen. So let's talk pros and cons. The biggest con for this pen for a lot of people is going to be the Chinese symbolism involved in this pen. It is not for everyone. And if that is the case, don't buy it, don't use it. Leave it to the people who don't have an issue with that. It is not going to be for everyone, but for some people, this pen is going to be a no-brainer. My only two other sort of little qualms are the fact that the nib is quite stiff. Like, I'm having to put quite a lot of effort to get that to lift. So it may be a little bit stiff for some materials, so just be aware of that. The other issue for me is the balance when the pen is posted. It's just a little bit too back heavy for my hand and how I like to write. For some people, it's not going to be an issue, just an issue for me. So what are the pros? First thing I want to say is the ink window. I love that. I love the design of it. I love that it's kind of subtle in that design, and also it's perfectly functionable, which is fantastic. I really, really like this nib, and I really like the long knife grind on it. I think it writes beautifully. It's reliable, consistent, all that kind of stuff. And also, it is a swappable nib unit, so you can just unscrew the nib unit and replace it with another from an appropriately sized Hongdian pen, something like the N7 perhaps. I also really like the piston. I think it's very smooth, it's nicely made, and it can be disassembled. So when you unscrew the piston knob here, there's little slots just on the sides that you can put like a little tool into, which you can get from like the Asvine tool, for instance, will do this, and then you can disassemble for full cleaning and all that kind of thing. I really like the balance when it's unposted. I find it a very, very comfortable pen to write with. And for long writing sessions. I've done full journaling sessions, multiple full journaling sessions with this pen. A big reason that is that I just love this ink, but also because it's such a great pen to write with. So yeah, love that balance weight. I think the build quality is fantastic. All the threads work really well. So the piston's great. You know, there's good tolerances, all that kind of stuff. But it really is some of the details of this pen are what kind of set it apart. So for instance, the knurling on the on the piston knob there gives it good grip. I like the fact also that when that's fully down, it just sort of disappears just into here. So you don't see like a gap in there when it's fully down. I think the threads are nice and smooth there down onto the grip section, so they never get uncomfortable under the fingers. And for capping, that is really very nice indeed. And also, I like the fact that although it would have been nice to see the design continue down onto the grip, they left it relatively smooth. It's not a slippery metal grip section. There's like, it's just buffed enough so that it doesn't feel slippery in the fingers, at least to my hand. And so that being slightly different to the quality of the rest of the pen, I think is an excellent design choice. So this was the Hongdian 100. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. Please like and subscribe, hit the notifications button, all that kind of stuff. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you would like to support the channel, I would really love to hear from you. A big thank you to EasyBuy for providing this pen and others over the last little while for review. I am so grateful for their support. I think they're a great retailer. I'll link to their Etsy page down below. So enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.